Hi, I'm Henry Glynn. I lead the ETF Capital Markets and Distribution team at Waystone. I'm joined today with Paul Heffernan, the CEO of the Waystone ETF team. We're here today to talk about transparency as it relates to ETFs. There's a well-documented number of active managers exploring the ETF wrapper and entering the ETF market. One of the concerns that comes up often is transparency. Paul, what are you hearing when you're speaking to managers on a daily basis about entering the ETF market? Is transparency a real issue?
Well, that's what we're here to demystify, Henry, right? So when it comes to transparency, when we talked, and we've literally talked to hundreds of active managers, and when we entered this journey with Waystone, we thought that there would be a need to have some sort of a semi-transparent or non-transparent structure to facilitate active management in ETF wrappers. But that's not the case. 99% of active managers that we talk to, when we broach the requirement for them to disclose their portfolio holdings on a daily basis, they have absolutely no issue. It's a non-issue. It's no concerns, and so much so we've kind of coined this phrase to say transparency, or the need for semi-transparency, is a solution in search of a problem, because for most managers, it's not an issue today.
So there are a number of solutions in the US, right, in terms of semi-transparency.
Yeah, so semi-transparency, or the concept of semi-transparency, has been talked about for a long time in the US, probably over 10 years now at this stage. The SEC changed the rules probably about 4 years ago now, where it facilitated the requirement not to fully disclose your portfolio holdings. So there's different models that have evolved in the US, where you've got whether it's what's called proxy models, or models where there's a shielding of the full disclosure of the portfolios to the market on a daily basis, and to be fair, they've proved quite effective. So that's some learnings we have in the US, but what happens in the US doesn't always translate into Europe. Sure. And in Europe, we haven't seen the emergence of any of these semi-transparent models. We know the industry is looking to work with regulators to see if a form of semi-transparency or something equivalent from a European perspective comes to market, but it's not there today. And certainly from the conversations we have with most managers, it's not a requirement.
What about in Europe? Do you expect to see any developments, similar developments in terms of semi-transparency in Europe? Do you expect to see any change there from a regulatory standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, we're aware industry bodies such as Irish funds are working with regulators to see what solutions can be brought to the market from a European perspective. I mean, there's a disparity of rules between a UCITS mutual fund and an ETF, a UCITS ETF in Europe. Mm-hmm. So UCITS mutual funds do not have to disclose their portfolio holdings on a daily basis, but ETFs are required. And the question that we would have is why is there that disparity between a mutual fund and an ETF? Great. They're both UCITS vehicles. They should be governed by the same rules. As we've mentioned a number of times here, it's not a huge amount of managers seem to want the requirement for semi-transparent or no transparency. But there are some that want it. I think our view would be the more options that are available to asset managers to be able to build products is better for the industry. It's better for the investors. So we'd be hopeful that something will come that's of a European equivalence, similar to what's in the US, but will have a European flavor. Having said that, and as you mentioned, I wouldn't expect the opportunity to be a global portfolio holdings. I think you'll probably see something where the semi-transparent model would be restricted to perhaps European equities, or at least equities that are in the same time zone as the domicile of the fund.